So, we have now arrived in Hull, and you may be thinking, well, why are you in Hull? Well, yeah, I couldn't actually find a slave trader anywhere else, and so I basically have been running from the Weeping Town to Hull over and over, selling, well, 15 prisoners by the trip, and it's not going particularly well. It's okay, because I'm actually making a good amount of cash, as you can see right here. I've done this a few times already, and it seems to be working quite well for me to gain some money, because obviously, if you can remember, back when we first conquered the Weeping Town, we had a huge amount of money. It was really quite amazing, because the money wasn't actually money, it was just slaves and people that we've captured. And so I'm actually now starting to sell these, and we're gaining 3,400 per time basically, and I've done this like 4 or 5 times already. Some of the time obviously you're not going to get 3,000 because you don't have knights or anything like that all the time, but it's really quite nice. Otherwise, I did head over to Bravos, and I have recruited, if I actually take a look here, where is he? This guy. Yes, this guy. Because apparently someone told me that he's an engineer, which he obviously is, as you can see right there. He's got 5 in engineering, and he was in Bravos. So someone was kind enough to tell me that he was actually there. I think I saw him before, but I think he was a bit too expensive at the time. But thankfully, due to my running back and forth with my slaves all the time, it has kind of given me a good amount of cash to spare. Obviously, my treasury is still in the same exact position that it was in the previous episode, but I think that we're doing okay. Now, what I have had to do is basically just go from port to port and just try and get down to the Weeping Town as quickly as possible. I don't really know what the best way to do that is, because as you can see, we end up losing a little bit of cash along the way. We don't lose that much, and we lose a little bit of morale as well, but that's not really a big deal. As you can see, though, Bitterbridge and Grassfield Keep have been taken by the Westerlands once again. They're very frustrating to fight against, let's just say that. Anyway, let's, yeah, I'm actually just gonna try and ignore some of these things, because if you decide on the wrong thing, yeah, if you decide on the wrong thing, you're going to get people in your own faction annoyed at you. And I'm not a big fan of that, thanks very much. So I'd like to just try and see if we can... Oh, Bitterbridge has been... Ooh, look at that! Bitterbridge has been just besieged by Mr. Swan right there. One of the Swans, at least. And that is very nice indeed. So that means that Dragonstone's actually starting to do something a little bit more actively. And speaking of that, I would like, if at all possible... Oh, what is this? You summon 2 men, one is a knight. Okay. Oh. Ooh, yeah, there you go. Pay him and all that stuff. Okay, allow poaching, allow the peasants to cut trees, allow the nobles to hunt in your forest? Sure. You're in the mood for something special today. Perhaps you should allow the cook to experiment a bit. After hours in the kitchen, he finally presents you with lamb roasted over a slow fire, served with a salad of raisins and carrots soaked in wine. When you cut into the lamb, the air fills with the smell of saffron and cloves. Wow. Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, that seems pretty nice, doesn't it? Anyway, 134, and wow, that's a lot in there. That is a lot. Okay, so I'm hopeful that I will be able to find Stannis. I don't know where Stannis is, but I'm hopeful that I will be able to find him. As you can see, I haven't touched the money in the Iron Bank just yet, because I was utilizing, obviously, the amount of prisoners that we have in the Weeping Town. So, let me see where we have... It's traveling to Eastwatch by the sea. No! Stannis, why are you doing this? Ah, well, never mind. I suppose... I mean... I really don't know why he has this, to be honest. I think that this is an absolutely terrible location for anything. But, yeah, someone actually mentioned in the comments that they wanted to see what was happening in the north. Well, not much has happened, as is usually the case in the north. Not much happens because, as I said before, the Westerlands has taken basically everything because of the quest that we did earlier on. And then we obviously have the Iron Islands. They have been untouched because usually, as far as I'm aware, the north will attack the Iron Islands, or maybe vice versa, and it really depends on what happens there. You know, sometimes the North wins and sometimes the Iron Islands win, and they will then start taking things. But usually it's the North that ends up winning that. So obviously that's not going to be happening this time because, well, we kind of obliterated the North in many ways. Anyway, let me see if I can... Ooh, hello. Ah, there's Mr. Mace. Yes. 2 misters. He's that important. He has 2 misters in his name. Very good. Okay, so otherwise, what we're going to do is I have leveled up. By the way, I'm just actually keeping this 1 skill point because I would like to spec into something, but I'm not entirely sure what it is, to be honest, yet. So I'm going to have to find out what's happening with this at some point, because as you can see, I've got 5 in every agility skill, with the exception of obviously looting and indeed foraging. I have started to spec into spotting with Elias, because he's actually the only guy that's doing spotting at the moment. And I thought, considering we're leveling up intelligence, it might make sense. So let's actually go in here and rush to the aid of the village farmers, even though they are an enemy. So 186 against 235. I think we should have a pretty easy time of this, but it is obviously Mr. Mace himself, and I don't know whether he's gonna, well, do the same thing that he did last time and be absolutely unresponsive in his strategy. Because last time, I don't know whether you remember, but last time he basically just stood still in the same location and did nothing. Did nothing at all. So obviously, if he decides to do that again, we will be in a really, really good position. But I don't really want him to do that again, to be honest. I would much rather have them be somewhat active in their attacks on us, because that makes everything much more fun. So let's see if we can actually do something about maybe goading him into it. Oh, maybe we don't even need to goad him into an attack. Seems like he's doing absolutely fine. Oh, he got eliminated by Sir Jasper. Oh yes, that reminds me. We are going to, I think, be assigning the sirs in our army to be like a personal bodyguard, because someone actually mentioned that, and I thought, okay, well, why not, you know. Usually I don't really like to do the personal bodyguard thing, because most of the time my forces are, you know, anyone that's actually bodyguarding me is going to end up dying in a really bad way, so usually I just tend to let them do their own thing, because if I go into the enemy's line, or, you know, I try to be a little bit fancy in my commando maneuvers, then, you know, some of the time it's a pretty good idea not to have anyone follow you, because then they're just going to end up dying for nothing. But as you can see, most of our forces, most of our companions in actual fact, in other words, Sir Clavis, Sir Felton, Fenner even, is getting a huge amount of kills. And I'm surprised, to be honest. I'm very surprised, because on the one hand, you think to yourself, wow, those guys are pretty low level, you know? They're only like, what? I don't know, level 10, level 12, something like that. And, you know, seeing them do that much damage and get that many kills is a pretty nice testament to things. But apparently, Sir Jasper was like, oh no, I'm sorry, going to have to die here for some reason. Yeah, so well, never mind. It seems like there's a couple of them actually ending up dying now, but that's okay, because let's face it, they're basically the ones charging in first, aren't they? So yeah, otherwise, we do have that new engineer, so I'm hopeful that we will be able to do a siege in this episode as well, and hopefully that will then result in some rather fun situations as well, because now that we have him, he has 5 in engineering, it's going to make our construction so fast in comparison to what it was before, because we had 0 before. We literally had 0. It was terrible, terrible. So it's really going to be extremely nice to have a little bit of enhanced speed. And I'm going to go on a bit of a sieging spree, I think, because if we do that, I think we're going to then weaken the Reach even further, and that will give Dragonstone a little bit more momentum in their war against the Reach. Now, the funny thing about these guys is that they literally can't do anything to me, and we know how this is. In a Clash of Kings, if you have a bad proficiency or a low power strike or anything like that, then you're going to have some difficulties dealing with higher protected units. In other words, you know, obviously plated armor units and things like that. You're going to have some difficulties with those. And that's exactly how it is for these guys. If they have a low proficiency and they don't have a particularly good weapon or anything like that, I'm just going to let this guy hit me, actually, just so you can actually see. Look at that. 0. 0. Yes. I mean, literally, he just hits me for 0 because he doesn't have a good proficiency, and his weapon is no good either. So it is literally just because of that we are not taking any damage. Anyway, oh, he managed to escape. Oh, wow, that was pretty wily of him, wasn't it? Oh, and apparently the enemy has now taken refuge off the map. Do you see that? Do you see that in the top right of the screen right now? Do you see that with the battle map? They're actually on the outside of the boundary, which is kind of weird, and I have never seen that before, actually. Oh well, huh. Our forces can't actually go over there. I have no idea how they spawned over there, even, but I guess we'll just pull back and see if they come out of there. Well, they did finally come out of their little, well, inaccessible hiding space, and, well, Brendan actually got himself taken out by these guys, so that's a bit of a shame, but, well, thankfully, we only have a couple more of these guys to go, and then we will have won this round. Actually, how many have we've eliminated his entire army? I didn't even know. Well, we gained 12 renown from that battle. It took a while to actually get those crossbowmen actually dead, so yeah, that was a bit of a pain. But otherwise, 235 were eliminated, and there's another 20 remaining. So I'm actually just going to send my forces in and eliminate the last remaining forces. There we go, done. All right, so we did get some relation with the Westerlands, but that's obviously not what we want. We are going to be taking Mr. Mace prisoner, and hopefully his faction will decide to give us a pretty sizable ransom. I would very much appreciate it. I think that's going to be super good, and otherwise I think I will not be taking any loot, at least for the moment. So now Star Pike. I believe Star Pike is a... oh, it's actually not a siege tower. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to level up a couple of people here. And then we are going to speak to Sir Jasper here, give him some more strength. I'm just basically trying to make them into as good warriors as possible. And we're just going to try and get this guy a little bit more HP. Sounds good to me. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're now going to move all of the Sirs into the same location in our army composition. Oh, okay, so apparently there's only 3 of them. There's only 3 of them, so I guess we're just going to be making these guys into bodyguard. There we go. Bodyguard group, there we go. And these guys, there we go. And this one, there we go. Alright, so that's pretty fantastic. And I think that's it, yes. Okay, so Sir Felton is the one with the amazing sword that we gave him. So hopefully he's going to prove himself to be a fantastic addition to the bodyguard group. And we will now... yes. We will now wait until tomorrow, because apparently our engineer is not actually alive and able to build the siege. Wow, this is actually kind of harsh. I was just waiting here so that Aratos could get himself back on his feet, and he has 5 in engineering, and it's still going to take 28 hours? I am very surprised about that. I thought to myself, okay, so without engineering, with 0 engineering, you're going to be getting 32 hours with a ladder construction, right? So personally, I don't think that that's... I don't think that that's too long. I think it is kind of long, but obviously, I would expect with 5 in engineering, as we accept the decision for Stannis to give this to someone else, I guess 2,500 coins is pretty good. And we are now being attacked by the Reach, which I was actually expecting for this entire time, but they decided not to do it for whatever reason. But anyway, as I said, 5 in engineering I would expect to reduce the construction time by a much more significant margin than what it actually does, because it's 32 hours with 0 engineering and it's 28 with 5? I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I feel like that's a little bit weird, because if it reduces it by 1 hour per point, then it would be, what, 27? Because we have 5 in engineering rather than, 4, because it would be an hour per time. But I don't know, I feel like that's a little bit strange. I don't even know what's going on with that. But anyway, Personally, I feel like every single point of engineering should probably give like 2 hours of increased time or something like that, so that if you, I don't know, if you have 10 in engineering, then that is 20 hours reduction, which would make it 12 hours as a base for, you know, because obviously if you take off 20 hours from 32, then obviously, you know, basic math, you know, 10 hours remaining. So that's, I mean, that's something that I would expect to be, you know, a thing. But apparently it's even worse than I thought. So being an engineer is not very good at all, and it doesn't actually matter. It doesn't actually matter whether you have an engineer or not. Maybe engineering in A Clash of Kings has been tweaked so that if you have more engineers, or if you have more people with the engineering skill, then maybe it's going to contribute to how much you actually have. So maybe that would make a difference. Maybe that's a thing, because then if I have multiple engineers or multiple people with, you know, some points in engineering, then maybe it's going to contribute to the overall reduction in the building time. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of weird. Don't you think that's kind of weird? Oh well, never mind. Leave it in the comments if you think that's kind of weird, because personally, if you have 5 in engineering, which is basically halfway to the max, you know, it's 50% of the max, so, you know, generally, I would expect it to reduce the time by like 10 hours, you know? But, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. I know that in some mods, specifically in a recent mod that I was playing, 108 heroes, you do have special skills that your companions can have to increase your speed of you know, siege construction and things like that. And I know that obviously you don't have companions like that in this mod, because it's a little bit more realistic, I suppose you could say. But anyway, the point is that in that mod I had pretty high engineering skill, like 8 or something like that. I had 8 engineering skill on one of my companions, and the siege time was 4 hours for a siege ladder. And I think that's pretty good. I mean, obviously I think that's pretty good, because I mean, I don't really want to be waiting around for a very significant amount of time, do I? No, I mean, that's kind of not the point of the game, you know. Waiting around is not really the point. You know, the point is besieging things and, you know, conquering and, you know, expanding influence and strategy and so on and so forth. But whatever the case, I think that needs to be tweaked a little bit, but maybe that's just me. Who knows? Maybe some of you, you know, enjoy the increased waiting time. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to try and win against these Reach vassals. So far, it's actually going extremely well. I'm actually kind of surprised. I mean, we do have some really high tier units, so I suppose I shouldn't be too surprised, because the enemy is running in with literal pikemen, and we don't have any cavalry, so generally the Reach is going to be much better against cavalry than they will be against basically anything else. And I'm kind of dreading facing the Iron Islands, to be honest, because the Iron Islands obviously have the best infantry in the game, according to a number of you in the comments, and that is... I'm a bit scared of those guys. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they're going to be easier than I anticipate, but who knows? I think they might be very menacing, shall we say. But yeah, apparently, yeah. Oh yeah, someone actually mentioned that the Iron Islands may not be the strongest faction. The strongest faction might be the Dornish, because they have extremely strong cavalry, and they have good archers, and they have all-around infantry. That's what you said in your comment, at least. And that's actually kind of interesting, because I've never fought... Well, I have fought the Dornish in the past, but I haven't fought them very recently. I fought them in 2.2, I believe, in A Clash of Kings 2.2, that is. No, my little horsey! Ah, that's kind of unfortunate. I was actually hoping that my horse would survive there, but yes, as you can quite clearly see, these pikemen are crazy good against cavalry, and, well, they're very good at killing the horse at least, but maybe they're not so good at killing the rider after they have been dismounted. As you can see there, I mean, they're just not really able to do too much, because the AI doesn't know how to use the thrusting mechanics that well. But anyway, yeah, I'm actually looking forward to fighting the Dornish perhaps at some point, if they do decide that they want to attack us. Well, there it is, 18 renown for our victory against 255 of the enemy's units. I only killed 37 right there, but as you can see, the companions are actually starting to get many more kills as they level up, and that is exactly what we want to see. So let's just send in our forces to eliminate the last remaining units, and then we will be taking as many of these guys prisoner as I can. Now, I'm thinking to myself that I probably won't be rescuing I'm gonna rescue the armed villagers actually, but I won't rescue the peasants for the moment. Anyway, let's have a look. Ooh, there we go. Yes, give me that. A nice new shield. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this shield is actually that good, because the size, as you can see, is 59 by 79 in comparison to 72 by 105. So it's probably going to be a little bit smaller than we're used to, but maybe it's going to be okay. Who knows? A bit dubious about that, because obviously we're going to be going up against a huge amount of crossbowmen. I'm actually really surprised that we haven't lost any units just yet, because we were getting absolutely bombarded by huge amounts of crossbow bolts and all kinds of things from the walls, and it doesn't seem like they were able to kill any of us, which is actually very strange, because none of our forces, or not very many of our forces anymore, shall we say, have shields. Because obviously I've been upgrading my forces into vanguards, and then into household guards, and into halberdiers, and all that sort of thing. So I've not really been favoring shields that often, which is kind of strange. Ooh, seems like, okay. Seems like there's an invisible wall there. I was actually hoping that I would be able to go up the other direction, but it seems like I have now maybe missed the opportunity to get in and up. But it's a bit weird, really, to be honest, that this is happening how it is, because I would have expected these guys to have some infantry to kind of protect them, but apparently they don't, which is kind of weird. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that, but kick them! Kick them off! Ah, that's not working. Oh my, okay, that's a lot of damage. Wow, they actually hit my head there by the looks of things. Okay, we got to be a bit careful. Got to be a bit more careful then. Okay, I'm gonna kick him off. Take him down. Ah, that is always amusing. Absolutely, always fun to do. All right, so let's just see if I can. What? They're off the. Yes, they are off the map again. I can't go over there because of the invisible wall. That is kind of harsh. That is kind of harsh. Certainly going to need to have that worked on, and maybe tweak the engineering as well a little bit. But yeah, anyway, point is, we are okay so far. Kind of surprised, as I say, that not many more of our people have died. I mean, as you could see, I took a lot of damage just from wading in through those crossbowmen. So maybe I just took more damage than all of our units combined, and that's a perfectly fine thing to do, I guess. Anyway, I am unsure how we are going to kill those crossbowmen in that archer nest, because if we can't get over there physically, then it's going to be basically impossible for me to do that. So I guess bring archers. I guess bring archers for this particular siege. That probably would have helped us out quite a bit. But as you know, I'm not a big fan of archers in this mod. I think that the crossbowmen are pretty good, but archers in general, probably not the best, with the exception of the Raven Tree archers that we know of. I think in a previous version, I think in 6. One of the 6 versions, I'm not entirely sure which one it was, but one of the 6 versions, you could recruit Raven Tree archers from Raven Tree Hill, I believe it was. Was it Raven Tree Hill or Raven Tree Castle or something like that? And those were basically the unique units that you could get from that place, and it was basically insane. Those archers were so incredibly cool and really good that recruiting a whole bunch of those was basically a really good way of constructing an archer-only army, and it's really good. It's really good to do that. Unfortunately, as you can see, because of the invisible wall right here, I am unable to do anything, as you can see right there. So it's not my fault this time. It's not my fault. Anyway, I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to do here. I mean, I could pick up some thrown weapons, but I doubt these guys have any throwing weapons. I mean, I could pick up a crossbow, but do I want to? I mean, let's face it. I literally... I mean, I do have a pretty decent crossbow. I was going to say... again. Yes, crossbow proficiency. I have a pretty decent crossbow proficiency, but... yeah, it's not going to get any better than this. I say, okay, so I'll tell you what. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait and see if we can get the enemies to below 20 units. If we can get them to below 20 units, then I shouldn't have to come back in here, and I can just ask them for a surrender. And it's not like I want to do that, obviously, but that's just the only option that they have given me so far, so we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'm not going to be able to, because we just can't get to the enemies, and they are... we can? Oh, yes, 19. Okay, 18. Very nice. Okay, so I will be retreating now because, as you can see on the battle map, those units over there are outside of the, well, movable area, suffice to say. So we're going to, well, we're going to lose out on the renown right there. We lost 17 units. That's pretty costly, thanks to the invisible wall, I guess. And we're going to call for a meeting and say, yep, there we go. You'll not come under attack. And I think that's kind of hilarious. I was speaking to this guy just now, and I was like, okay, you will not come under attack, and you are free to leave. And then, I yield by the 7, call back your men. Yes, okay, I will be taking you prisoner, I'm so sorry. I will be doing that, just literally because... oh yeah, by the way, in a previous fight, I actually looted one of these. I was actually fighting another 3 or so vassals with about 200 units, and it was basically just a rehash of the previous fight. It was the same map and everything, so I thought, you know, we're not going to show that. So, yeah, but I did find this really, really cool piece of armor, so that's really nice. It didn't help me that much in this particular siege, because as you can see, I took a lot of damage. So, anyway, I'm just going to ask for no rewards, and we're just going to move on. Okay, so there's Star Pike. That has been taken. That took a long time. Who's that? Someone... what? Lord Titus Peak is running away. Can I just ask something real quick? He's here. Hello, this is Lord Titus. And as far as I can tell, that is Lord Titus as well. Apparently we've cloned him. We have cloned him. So the Clone Wars will commence. I have the high ground, Anakin, and so on and so forth. Anyway, that will be it for this episode. I thank you very much for watching. I love these bugs, you know. These bugs are so funny to me. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.